Okay, welcome in. We have another episode of Going for Two. Today we are starting a two-part series with the ladies of Boomerz Boxing Gym down there on Dundas, just off Colborne. We've talked numerous times about that gym. We've shot episodes in that gym. Finally, we brought some real fighters from that gym and not just the owners of the place.
I want to tell me some real fighters because you used to be
tried.
there.
Yeah, you did try.
That's how I met these young ladies, by the way.
You did all right.
I appreciate. All right is good enough for me. That's what I sign up for.
You've been surviving on that for over 40 years.
What were you going to say? You weren't going to say anything?
No comment.
All right.
You did all right.
Yeah.
That is it.
All right. That is exactly what I put on the T-shirt that I have framed in my basement. Is Shane, you did all right. So I appreciate you calling that out. No, we have a very special episode, and like I said, it's going to be two parts. We have Megan Morris and we have Sarah McLean. Both ladies that I had the pleasure of training with through fight camp, through Fight to End. They obviously caught the boxing bug. I have not caught the boxing bug, so I still hit the bag every once in a while. These ladies still want to hit people in the face, so we appreciate you taking the time. How have things been going?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really take much time off after Fight to End. I maybe took off like a week. It's honestly, it's my therapy. It's what I do to get the energy out, and yeah, I missed it. So it's been good. I've been trying to be pretty consistent in the gym. We've had some good rumbles with other people, and yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, I can definitely say after Fight to End, I had this feeling of now what? Yeah. And I knew I needed to take action on that.
Yeah.
Because I loved what training camp did for us. I loved the training aspect of it all.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to walk away from that. I actually felt in boxing I was able to stay present, and that's not something I've been able to find in a long time.
Okay, so that's interesting.
It's a good practice for the mind and body. So
yeah, well, like fight camp and people that watch the show, they know that it was life-changing for me. Like I ended up losing 30 pounds and have found a way to keep it off. And I said to Chad, "Hey Chad, I might box in August," and he's like, "No, you're not." All right.
I did say that.
Fair enough.
I did
tell
him that. I was like, he's like, "Well, I kind of started training." I'm like, "Well, that means you haven't started training."
Yeah. Right now I'm really, really in love with the idea of punching a bag, but the bag doesn't punch me back, so it's pretty cool. I've
pretty cool.
Yeah, I've definitely been enjoying.
He wins
that.
every round.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've lost a couple, but it's been there's been some tight ones. So yeah, right back into it. So Fight to End happened,
And prior to Fight to End, you both had no experience in fighting in any way, like any type of
That was
combat?
the catch.
Yeah,
that was kind of the prerequisite of Fight to End.
Yeah.
You have to have no fight experience in boxing whatsoever.
Yeah.
We're all kind of learning at the same time,
Exactly.
and that's what made it so it took a huge intimidation factor out of it when you're learning something new.
Yeah, and you bring up intimidation factor because like I said, we all trained together, and I just thought wow, Megan's the sweetest person ever. She's always nice to everyone. She's always says hi to everyone. And then you came out for your fight with machine guns, and I was like, what just happened? That is not the person that I was training with. And yeah, so I mean,
she studied the showmanship side of boxing, right?
Yeah, and the great thing is, and we're not gonna get it into the whole fight because it almost over a year ago. But these two ladies actually fought each other,
which is really cool.
and that's
and hanging out beside each other, right?
Yeah,
that shows how boxing is.
Yeah.
It's not you hate the person. I mean, there's obviously some promo aspect to it when you get to a certain level, but there's a respect level. Everybody respects each other.
Exactly.
And
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Huge respect, and I adore you. And we train one-on-one. We are not afraid.
Yeah.
We are not afraid to let go on each other,
No.
and that is huge. We trust each other,
Yeah.
and we respect each other, and that's the biggest thing about it, I think.
Well, that's what happened. Chad and I, you said it, as Sarah said, I did all right. I did all right because Chad spent every Sunday morning punching me to get me to be all right.
That's who did it to you.
That was him.
I remember you came in with
Yeah.
black eye and stuff.
I want to
nice.
make it very clear.
What a great friend.
It was also very therapeutic to me.
Yeah.
There's so many times on this show, it's one time, and that was my time.
He took his opportunity to
You
punch
did
me.
used to be his manager at one point too. I'm sure he brought us some of those old memories too.
We've definitely worked together at points.
Twice manager. Okay, there you go.
But back to these ladies. Sarah, for you, really cool. You have your daughters over there.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So, as a mother,
Yep.
stepping in the ring probably had different levels of meaning to you to show your daughters what you can do, something you've never done before.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, like, that's what stood out to me more than about Fight Dan. Like, none of you have ever done this, men or women, whoever it works out.
Right.
But you had your daughters say, look, you can do this. Like, you told me that over there. I won't say your age. You told me over there. But it's like, you can step in and do this at any age.
24.
Yeah. Oh, brownie points. No, I'm almost 40. I'm 39, and yeah, when I did Fight Den, I was 38. And yeah, for me, I mean, my kids are young. They're 8 and 10. I think sometimes, you know, the narrative's changing, but still, you know, women don't do combat sports and stuff. And there is a lot of joy that I get out of my kids being like, wow, Mom, that was a great punch. I saw you punch that guy. And I was like, thanks, honeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. You know, and my stepdaughter will be like, you know, I tell kids at school not to mess with me because my stepmom boxes. And I was like, well, I'm not going to punch kids.
You can. Disclaimer, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much, but I mean, it does, there is a little bit of a different meaning, I think, to it too. But like Meg was saying, like we've developed a really great friendship. Like it's one of the coolest things coming out of boxing that I wouldn't have expected. Like, I think there's like a quote that people say that boxing's the loneliest sport. Not my experience. Like, honestly, people at the gym, at Boomerz, just the women's boxing community as a whole, it's propping each other up. Like, we're not going anywhere. It's not been long that women have been allowed to box. So that's not going to change. And, you know, when we support each other, that's the best part of it.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I will say being around Boomerz, like the way, doesn't matter male or female, you're treated the same way. It only matters if you're willing to compete. And the ability to compete is definitely, I mean, that's the prerequisite to want to be there, right? And, you know, I ran into both of you at the Here Comes the Boom event in February. Yeah. Sarah was running around volunteering. Yeah. Meg was there watching. But like, I said, Meg, you fighting tonight? She's like, no. But like, maybe someday. And then, you know, little do I know that someday is, I'm just going to jump on a plane to BC and go have my next fight.
You were saying the coolest thing coming out of boxing. I'm like, the coolest thing would be what women London boxing is bringing to the environment, the city and everything. It's awesome. I watched that promo video of the girl throwing on that event and what she was trying to bring to women in boxing. Yes. And I got goosebumps watching it because I thought, like, I've said it before in this show, you were in the beginning stages of the growing of this, and it's going to be 15 years. You look back and you go, look what I helped build. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You never know when you're in it, but your girls are in it right now, and it's so cool, right?
Oh, that's so kind.
And it's such an inspiring community to be in. Like, when we went out to BC and we saw, you know, everyone's there for the same reason, and they all have their own journeys, but they're all there.
They're all just looking to hit somebody?
Right.
You can hit somebody too, right?
Right. But like, and we were even saying it during your fight, when you took a really good hit, you were like, oh, yeah, that was good. Like, it just like hypes you up because you see other strong women that have the courage to step into the ring. And like, that's just, there's something empowering about that, you know? And I just... You know, you went and talked to your opponent right after, and I chatted with my opponent after, and it was so fun. It was so good.
Yeah, my opponent's pretty cool. Like, she was really cool. And I enjoyed talking to her afterwards. I've told people before, like, for that fight, I found out literally like 2 minutes before the fight that she's a lefty. And I was like, oh, because that totally changes all of the game plan. Yeah. And I was standing there with Heather, the coach, and Coach Caroline, and I was like, is she a southpaw? And they're like, no. Oh, no, yeah, she is. And I was like, okay, all right. Here we go. What am I going to do? And you know, you just kind of pivot and went in there, and she put on a really good match. Like, I had a black eye afterwards, and I showed on Instagram. I was like, kudos to my opponent. She, you know, gave me a really nice shiner.
Black eye and a gold medal.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and the gloves. Yeah,
so
exactly.
when you went back to work, though, how'd that go with your nice black eye?
Is it like Fight Club? Is it just don't ask?
Yeah,
don't tell me?
It's funny. So I'm the professor, so I work at Western, and I'm in the Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry. So people study concussions and stuff like that, and sometimes they're like, this is kind of crazy, Sarah. And I'm like, you know what? It brings me a lot of joy.
You're doing it for science.
I am doing it. I'm doing it for, I tell my girls all the time, I do it for my heart and for my brain and for my body and for them. Because when I'm fit and strong and have that stress release, I'm a better person.
Yeah.
I know you're years away from your kids potentially getting into the sport, but are you going to be the one that jumps in the ring them first and bops them, or are you going to let somebody else do it?
She just said she doesn't support that.
I don't like kids.
It is on air saying she is not okay
16,
with that.
17, you never know at that point, right? Like
You can start young. You can start younger than that.
I mean, to be fair, so Coach Heather, who's coming on after, she gave me my first bloody nose, which is, it's nice, right? Like we were sparring, and she landed a few good jabs. Meg gave me my first black eye in our fight. So, it's just little souvenirs I take along the time. I mean, it probably wouldn't be fair if I punched them first, just because I'll have had that much more experience.
Is it one of those when you bop them and they get the bloody nose and you're going to say, there's your souvenir that you've been looking for?
It sounds like the kind of thing where you're like, you get the first shot. I can't promise you anything after that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I can't tell you what my counter's going to be, but here it comes.
Yeah.
I can assess the power of your coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Now-
Let's see.
Now, obviously, like we just talked about, you ladies went out to BC. Now, what gave you the urge or the will to get out to BC, to get into these fights? You went from fight to end to training to a different time zone to get into this.
You want to go?
Yeah, it's funny because after fight to end, I did have some fear stepping into the ring again. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I did have some fear just to feel as much adrenaline as I did again. Like your first fight, you don't really know what to expect, but I saw how my body responded, and I was a little bit nervous if I could trust it again. I don't know. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, if I'm doing another fight, I need someone to hold my feet to the fire and say, you're fighting.
Right.
And that's kind of what Caroline did. I'm not gonna lie. She's like, so I got you a match in BC. You come in? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of, I committed to it from there, and then, it's the best decision that I made moving forward, because then I got so close with all the Boomerz girls, and that was just life-changing. Amazing.
And I mean, you did lots of training, and I heard your name once or twice from Chad. He's like, hey, you fought with Meg and Fight to End. I was like, yeah, she's crazy in the mornings. Like
6 a.m., man.
It's crazy, man.
It takes a special person to wake up at 5 in the morning and want to come work out and train. He doesn't do it. I want to put it out there.
I used to do it when I was getting ready to fight. I did it.
Have that fight in August, man. You'll come and fight, get there at 6 a.m.
So it's cool seeing you there and keep going. And then you went out and did this fight, and I saw you were there a couple times. 6 a.m. was also I saw you in there, and I think it's crazy. Your first fight was in British Columbia, and you get to go as a team, which is really cool. A lot of fights you don't get to go as a group.
Yeah.
And I grew up playing team sports my whole life. I always say, there was nothing cool than playing mini sticks in the hallway with your teammates playing hockey. I'm assuming you girls didn't do that in hotels. But if you did, significantly cooler.
Seems like they might have.
Yeah. But those are the memories that you remember. It's not the fight. It's not the games. It's the time you do with your team. And the brief chat we had over there, that's what you girls talked about.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really good point. The bonding that happened was legit. We were just did we just become best friends? It's like a stepbrothers moment almost. We're all and people do it for the different reasons, right? And I think it was really nice being there and supporting one another, right? It's not a team sport, but we're on the same team, right? And we were supporting each other. Heather before my fight gave me a really good pep talk, because those have fought before, you have those waves of anxiety. You're fine. I'm yeah, I can do this. And then you have a wave, you're holy crow, what did I sign up for?
You caught it.
I said crow. Yeah, holy crow. Yeah, what did I sign up for? And you're
yes, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to happen. And you went the other way.
I'm a mom, right? I can censor it when I need to. Yeah, so, I mean, just being able to chat with the other girls, get to know them. We did weird photo shoots.
We're all so quirky.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of weirdos, right? And you're oh, you're a weirdo that likes punching people and getting punched in the face too. This is, and we all have our other parts of our lives, and it was just really fun.
Yeah. It was everything.
Yeah.
Just to finish that thought, it was everything. We're all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great trip, and from talking to you, it sounds like a life-changing trip. you've been able to like get into Fight to End, which is a life-changing experience, and then you do this. Now, what I want to know is, how do you convince yourself to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to train if you don't have a fight on the books? Because this is what I've been trying to explain to Chad, is like, if I had a fight on the books and I knew I had to get ready for something, the timing doesn't matter. Sleep matters more to me, and I can wake up and fight at 7 at my own gym and not have to worry about it. Get me over my hurdle. I'm mentally in my own head.
That is a tough one, because I do think about that too on days where it's like 5:30 and I'm like, I'll wake up right at 5:30 and I'll have 5 minutes to get ready and get to the gym, and I'll still be like, but if I have a really interesting way of convincing my brain to do things. If I stress myself out just enough, I'll have enough energy to get out the door.
Okay.
Like, but I don't know if that's good advice, but plus I just love what boxing does for me, so I know it'll be the hardest part of my day over with by 7 a.m.
I think for me, whether I do it at night or if I do it in the morning, it's like my me time as a mom, and raising the 2 kids, a single mom. I mean, I don't get a lot of that, so I'm like, hey, this is my time, I'm gonna make it, right? And so I try and do that. I mean, I've brought my girls to the gym with me. They are
absolutely.
regularly there all the time. They know all the coaches.
Made an appearance or two at the Morrissey house.
Yeah, yes, they did. Yes, for after practice beers back in the day.
After practice waters.
Waters. Yes, sorry, waters.
Coach
As
Mark's
athletes.
listening.
Yeah, he is. Hey, he knows that we put in the work, so there's no judgment that way.
And you know what? Like, her name's been brought up 3 times. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up Coach Carolyn. She helped me along the way. She's clearly helped you along the way. She's helped the whole group along the way. And I think people would underestimate that she was coaching boxing 8 months pregnant.
Yes.
And like coaching it properly.
Yes.
Like,
Like, she is such an amazing human. It's hard for me to have words. Like, she knows just what to say to motivate you. She can assess and make little tweaks to like your technique, and you're like, oh, it's so much better if I do it that way. And that expertise and that drive and how much she loves it, like, it very much comes through in her coaching style for sure.
Like, such a cool family. Like, Mark and Caroline, and they got the little ones now. Like, that's just like the first family of boxing in London. Is that like is that like an appropriate thing to say?
Family? Is that what we're calling them?
Yeah, their entire family came out to BC too, so we got to see them on their first family trip, and it was heartwarming, so wholesome, like incredible.
Couldn't really have asked for a better place to go than BC across the entire country. Can't get any really further than where we are right now.
Right.
Did you find anything different about the girls that fight out there versus what you've been training against?
That's a good question.
Faster hands, better stamina.
We said softballs only, Kaylin. No hard stuff.
Honestly, I feel like everybody's got the fighter mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone fights and they train and they warm up in their own ways in different styles, so it's kind of hard to give you a good answer on that.
Well, I mean, that's
an
okay.
answer in itself, I think.
We're going to put you on the spot again. Fight to End is over. The West Coast boxing trip is over. What's next?
2 weeks, baby. 2 weeks.
You have 2 weeks?
What's going on?
We fight in 13 days.
Something
12,
like that,
12 or 13 days, yeah.
Wow.
Locally?
Kind of, yeah. We're going out to Toronto.
Okay.
Budo boxing.
Yeah, it's another all-women's card. It's called Women Reign, and they've had it for a few years now. It's a 2-day event, so yeah, a few of us from the club are going. We're excited.
You two have really fallen head over heels into this sport, haven't you?
It's changed our lives.
It's
hard to.
It's like the adrenaline. It's hard after you fight that like you're up for like hours. Like I was up till like 3 a.m.
You have to obsess over it.
Yeah.
Like if you just find your body obsessing over it, just feed your body the obsession.
Yeah.
It's a healthy one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. It is a clean addiction that you can get into, but like I said, it is not the kind of thing that you can dive into for 5 a.m. training if you don't have a fight on the books.
Yeah.
So should we convince this guy to get into fight to end? Because
Yes!
Oh
my God.
not only has he not
Yes.
fought before, but he's definitely never even been in a gym before. So it would be a huge experience for him.
Honestly.
You should.
We'll see. I think he's been busting my chops about this
Do
for a
it
little
for
bit.
your
We'll
kids,
see.
Kaylin.
What's
Yeah.
I'm
that?
gonna say it on air. Do it for your kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
have something to fight for, start with fight to end.
Yeah. What would
That's
Nova
true.
and Cash think right now?
Well, Cash would know what the heck's going on. Nova might be a little worried that she sees
Yeah.
Dad's being okay. Yeah.
Yeah. She'd be shook up. Okay. So Toronto in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Any of the crew from BC that you met, or anybody that was then at that fight that's going to be in Toronto too, or just a whole new group?
I think
I think it's more GTA local people. I know
Yeah.
my opponent that I'm matched with right now, and matches change right before the event sometimes. She's from out east, so she's from Nova Scotia.
Okay. Wow.
So, yeah. But
I like to think of us as the bee's knees when it comes to like a lot of things in sports, like London in general, right? And the women's boxing group is like pretty talented, as we've seen at Fight to End and at the event you just did. What do you think you're going to bring to Toronto? Is anybody there that you got a name that you're looking out for? That maybe not even you're fighting, but you want to see them because maybe you want to match up with them next year or next opportunity.
that's interesting. I mean,
Meg again, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch her fight.
We're on the team again. Like, we can just punch each other as much as we want, though. We don't need a matchup for that, right?
Yeah.
I honestly just like to go in and watch different styles, and now, like, because of my age, I'll be in the Masters category, which makes things a little bit different.
That
in
sounds
terms-
Masters sounds
I
pretty
know.
sweet.
It sounds cool. It just means I'm old.
Oh, whatever. Don't
It's
tell anybody
elite
that.
talent. Yeah. Elite
Yeah.
talent.
So, I mean, I'll probably watch and see, because I do know that it's, people starting combat sports, women at almost 40. There's not a lot of people that do that necessarily. So I'll have to see who's out there that I could potentially fight that has the same amount
Right.
of experience that I do, which isn't a ton, right? This will be my third fight. So
Yeah. So are the rules the same? Like I know, like do you have to just be within like a certain amount of years, or is that?
yeah, so
Okay.
it's similar to what the Fight to End rules were. So it's 10 years, 10 pounds.
Okay.
16-ounce gloves, a minute and a half rounds, and then I think, although I'm not sure on this, I think that you have cheek protectors. So instead of the fully open face headgear, your cheeks are covered too.
Oh.
So
Is that typical? Like, was that what it was in BC too?
no,
That was different.
so for Masters, I
They're a
think
little
there's some
lenient with it.
changes. Yeah. I think there are some changes that are happening. So if you're under like Masters, then you have like your face is open, right? Your cheeks are exposed and stuff, but Masters, you have cheek protectors.
How do you feel about that? It's almost like a hockey player putting on a cage and going, I don't like this, right? It's extra layers on your face, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I think Coach Heather will have something to say about that, but I mean, it's,
We'll leave the good stuff for her.
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for me, I haven't had a ton of fights, so it's neither here nor there. When I spar, a lot of sparring gear, headgear does have like the cheek protectors, so I'm used to that.
Do you ever wear your mouth guard to class? Just throw your mouth guard in to intimidate the students.
Yeah.
You could probably intimidate the students.
Heck yeah.
I will jump in on this. When I used to work at the bar, no word of a lie, I cannot make this up. One night, a guy pulled a mouth guard out of his pocket and put it in his mouth, and I was like,
start chewing on it.
you know what? We're gonna let that guy walk out on his own.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, just two things. Either he knows what he's doing or he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Two very
And I was like, you know
things.
what? Like, let's just walk him out casually.
Cares about his dental.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he doesn't
I
want
will
his teeth
never
to get
forget
hit.
that night. He pulled a mouth guard out of his pocket at Jim Bob Ray's, which
It's a
now doesn't
statement.
exist,
That is.
and
Just put it.
put it in his mouth. As we
Man's
were
an
like,
animal.
and we literally were just like, hey man, like, how's it going? He full blown. And I was like, all right, so we need you to leave really, really nicely.
Yeah.
Or you should have said, "Are we doing this? we doing this right now?"
As much as I want to, I was working.
Oh,
There is laws in the street. But yeah,
There was no
so you said,
halos worn in
put the
Jim
mouth
Bob.
guard in
What do you
class.
mean?
I was like, I've seen that one time, and it is a very intimidating trick.
Yeah.
You should use that.
I mean,
I like the idea of it.
I mean, like some of my students at Western know that I box, or I tell them, and they're like, "Whoa, that's cool." And it's kind of nice because some of the male students that they see it as kind of like legit. They're like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool." And they saw
Yeah.
some of my fight and stuff. It was nice.
When
It's a
they
different
ask for an
dimension,
extension, you should just pull the mouth guard out and put it in.
Ooh, taking that,
Yeah.
yes, done.
Do you really want an extension?
Are you sure about this? Yes. And our mouth guards
First
are
day of
black,
class
so they
after
look
Labor
kind of
Day,
creepy.
just pop that
right?
thing in,
Yeah.
away she goes.
You know what? My,
Super important,
My paper will be in by midnight.
super important decision that has to get made by every fighter coming into a fight is their walkout song, right? So what is your thought process with that? Is it something that you want your hips to feel the music, or do you want your opponent's hips to be feeling that music? Right? You know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? That's what it is. Yeah, am I going to be coming out dancing and having a good time, or do you want that other opponent to be going, oh my God.
It's not
what's
wrestling.
happening?
That's such a funny
Yeah.
question. Okay.
That's how I would pick it, right?
I'm only speaking from experience because I hadn't thought that far before I picked my song.
You came out with machine guns?
I came out with machine guns and like, what they were blow up machine guns.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But the song I had was also like more of a rock song, so I was really into the music that I forgot to bow to the judges. I was like so tunnel vision that I was making faces at Sarah and I didn't even realize it. Like,
It was good.
it was. Next time I would probably come out to something that that relaxes me rather than really hypes me up.
Okay.
But that's only my experience.
What
Good
was your
advice.
song?
It was called No Good by Kaleo, which is more of an indie rock song, but
Cool.
Yeah.
You should have given it shipping it out to Boston.
what's that?
That was
Shipping out to
that was
Boston.
mine.
That was yours?
That was mine. Yeah.
With the machine guns, that would have been perfect for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, Dropkick Murphys. I'm Scottish and Irish, so I was like, yeah, let's do this.
was pretty epic.
Oh no,
It's
but
also
my
the Notre
robe
Dame
got
kickoff
stuck on
song.
me.
That's what I'll put that out there.
Gloves.
Yeah, I know.
Realize that.
Oh, it was frustrating.
Tough day.
It was. It was a
Tough
tough.
day.
It could have been better.
Now, you're 2 weeks away from a fight. There's a tournament coming up in August at Boomerz. Are you a part of it?
I am.
Okay.
At least I put my name in for it. I
Nice.
registered for it, which I'm really excited for. But there's still a lot of people registering right now. It's still early,
Yeah.
I think. Early registration. I don't know.
So
But
naturally, you're going to have multiple fights within the course of a couple of days.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure how it goes. I'm just gonna go with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
I would think that that's the case, and like, I don't even know, like, how do you, it's tough enough to get your body ready for one fight. How do you get your body for like 2, 3, I mean, you're gonna have to trust your coaches, but
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I do trust my coaches. I was told to rest this week, so I'm resting.
How are you doing with that?
It's really hard. It's really hard to rest.
she was bored, so she took some time to do the show.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, Sarah went to tonight's class.
Yeah, I was literally at the 6 p.m. class tonight. Showered. My kids are like, "Oh, you stink, Mom." I was like, "That's how you know I got a good work in, girls."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you do the
Yeah.
good work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I haven't signed up for the tournament yet. Regardless, I'll be there in some way or another, whether it's volunteering. I just have to see, again, parenting things with my kids and making sure I can make that work.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what, like, it's amazing what you're doing. It's amazing that a year ago this time, you hadn't fought at all. And now it's like, you're stacking fights on top of fights, and you know, you're not looking past this upcoming fight, but you already know what the path is. I think that's amazing.
We
Like,
both might be double digits by the time we next talk to you on the show, eh?
Then we'd be
Double
open.
digits, but yeah,
Open.
that's cool. That's the way
That'd
this
be
is
wild.
trending.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm curious what that means.
You have 10 fights. You're
10
past
fights?
Yeah,
Then
if
you
you're
just
past
fight
10
whoever you
fights,
want.
you can fight whomever. So, like, if you're under 10 fights, they try and make it relatively close, right? 'Cause with experience comes wisdom and better fighting. So it wouldn't be fair for me to fight somebody who's got 40 fights, right? I'd get annihilated.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so once you're open, it's kind of open season. if
The
you will.
only deal I need is, even if we each have 10 fights,
Yeah.
I don't want you to fight me, because I'm going to lose.
Aw. I do remember sparring with
Change
you.
that mindset.
Yeah, I do remember sparring with you during one of the
Yeah.
things. Yeah, it was fun.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. We know that you probably have to get back to the gym right now and punch a bag or something, or get out there and do something.
Hill sprints.
We want to thank Kellogg's for having us out here, you know, the great setup. And we want to thank the ladies of Boomerz Boxing. We're going to have a few more coming on at a later episode. And we will see everybody next week.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you.